There's a lilac in my own dooryard. Matey Holt, who keeps house for my daddy, gave me one last fall. It's a sprout off her bush that was itself a sprout off the bush her great-grandmother brought from Richmond after the war. The Civil War. There were 3 fat purple blossoms on it this year, even though Matey didn't think it'd bloom so quickly after being transplanted. I cut one of them, gathered daffodils from the ditch bank and scarlet honeysuckle from the woods, added a few white dogwood blossoms, and stuck them all in a brown earthenware jar that used to hold butter in the spring house when my daddy was a little boy 80 years ago. The flowers look and smell like Easter. And stands about the woodland ride, wearing white for Eastertide. My mind was looping through all the poetry I ever read in college lit courses a million years ago, anything to paper over the memory of last weekend when I'd gone hippity-hopping down to Newbern just like a horny little bunny. I'd even carried along a whimsical basket of erotic goodies, an early Easter treat for Kid Chapin, the decidedly sexy game warden who had me seriously thinking about marriage for the first time in 6 years. I'd thought I wouldn't be able to get away till Saturday noon. But then things changed, and I found myself impulsively heading east on Highway 70 Friday night, smiling as I thought of how surprised he'd be to see me 12 hours early. Like a guilty thing, surprised. That's Wordsworth, talking about some bastard like Kid. It was almost 2 a.m. when I reached Newbern that night. I cut my lights and engine at the top of Kid's driveway and just let gravity carry me the rest of the way, coming to rest beside his Dodge Caravan. To my relief, there was no sign of Amber's Mustang. Kid's daughter turned 16 last fall, and having her own car had loosened some of the reins she kept him on, but this didn't mean she disliked me less or had given up hope her parents would eventually get back together. One of his caged rabbit dogs, farther down the slope, let out a few yips when it heard my car door open. It barked again as the door latched, then fell silent. The waning moon was lost in the trees that rimmed the western sky, and no light shone from the cabin windows. A floorboard creaked as I walked across the porch. I opened the screen door that he'd left unhooked, inserted my key in the lock of the heavy cedar front door, and quietly let myself into the dark house. The main room, a combination living room, den, and dining room, runs the full width of the house, with a glass wall at the far end that opens onto a deck overlooking the Neuse River. There was barely enough moonlight for me to make out the shadowy shapes of furniture as I crossed the room and stubbed my toe on the runner of an oak rocking chair. From the master bedroom came the sound of Kid's soft snores, rising and falling. Shivering with anticipation, I shed my clothes, draped them over the nearest chair, and felt my way silently down the short, dark hallway. The bedroom was almost pitch black, but I was so familiar with the layout that my bare feet didn't stumble as I tiptoed over to the king-size bed. A careful sweep of my hand told me that he lay almost in the center of the bed. I lifted the sheet and coverlet and eased in beside him. He didn't move. I gently worked my way closer till I could feel the warmth of his smooth shoulder. Then, in one fluid motion, I cupped my body to his back and slid my arm over his to clasp his chest. and touched a woman's bare breast instead. Both of us jerked apart with shrieks that could have waked the dead. They certainly waked Kid, who'd been dead to the world till that moment. Lights came on. She clutched at the sheet. I grabbed the coverlet as I hit the floor. Kid dived for his pants. "What the hell is this?" I asked angrily, pulling the coverlet tightly around my nakedness. She glared back at me. "Who the heck are you?" Then we both glared at Kid, who was still blinking in the sudden light. Deborah? This is Jean," he said sheepishly. "Jean?" I snapped. "As in the former Mrs. Chapin?" I don't know why I hadn't seen this coming. After the hurricane flooded them out last fall, she and Amber had camped in with Kid for a couple of weeks. He'd sworn to me that it was nothing more than good Samaritanism and that there was absolutely no spark left between him and his wife. If these were the ashes, damned if I wanted to see the fire. And she, now in full possession of the bed, pushed the pillows into a heap and lay back with a smug look. "So pleased to meet you, Judge," she cooed. With as much dignity as I could muster, I swept from the room in my coverlet, retrieved my clothes, and ducked into the hall bathroom. "Look, you said you weren't coming till tomorrow noon," Kid said when I emerged, fully dressed. Shirtless and barefoot, his hair tousled, his tone was half apologetic, half accusing. I heard only the accusation. "This is my fault?" I snarled. "Because I didn't give you enough time to let your bed cool off before showing up? How long have you been sleeping with her again?" "Oh, come on, honey," he said coaxingly. "Screw it," I said coarsely. "And screw you, too." With the lights on, I saw their empty glasses, a pair of blue jeans on the hearth, a black bra dangling from the back of the couch, a handful of CD cases. Patsy Cline? Willie Nelson? You made love to her with my CDs? Somehow, that made it even worse. I mashed the eject button on his player and scooped them up, along with a half-dozen more that I'd brought along with me over the last few months. "You can send me the rest of my stuff," I said, heading for the door. "And yours will be on the next UPS truck." He followed me outside to my car, oblivious to the chilly night air on his bare feet and naked chest. "Look," he said, "I'm sorry. I really am. I was going to tell you tomorrow. It just happened, Jean and me, and what with Amber and all. I mean, it's like we've got all this history, you know? And getting back together would make everything easier somehow. But I never meant to hurt you, Deborah. Honest to God, I didn't. Go to hell." I shoved the car in gear and backed out so fast, Kid had to jump away to keep me from running over his bare toes. I must have been doing 50 when I hit the top of his drive, and the car fishtailed so hard when I turned it onto the road that I almost lost control and flipped it. All I needed, right. Having to get him to come haul me out of the ditch. That was 5 days ago. As I drove west toward Ashboro, I still felt a hot flush of mortification every time I thought about crawling into that bed, snuggling up to his wife. That I could have been so stupid, left myself open to such humiliation, allowed a game warden to trifle with my emotions just because he was good in bed. When was I going to quit letting my hormones rule my head and start? A sharp horn